Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of the RPG Companion Podcast, the companion podcast to Magic with Zuby, which is all about Magic the Gathering, but RPG Companion is all about Dungeons & Dragons and any other RPG I fancy myself talking about. And today we are going to be discussing the new book that was just announced, well not just announced, but announced a little bit ago, called Tashas Cauldron of Everything. And we're going to be diving a little bit deep into that, and we're going to be talking about some little changes coming to this podcast as well. It has been a while since I've done an episode, and I apologize about that. I've had so many ideas running around, and I figured I'm going to try to rebrand this a little bit here to make it a little bit more casual than I was, but we'll get into that in a little bit. This show can be found on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, TuneIn Radio, and Spotify, and Amazon Music. We were just accepted on there. Just search for Magic with Zuby to find it, because it is under that main RSS feed. This does not have its own RSS feed. I figured I'll just slap it on with my Magic with Zuby, since I do way more episodes of that, and that show comes out weekly, and this show comes out pretty much when I feel like it, but I'm hoping to change that a little bit here. So anyways, before we dive deep into some of our topics, let us get some ads out of the way, and then we will dive deep into some D&D.
Well, hey there, Zoe. Why the long face there, chum?
I just want to order some magic cards, but the shipping was too expensive.
Too expensive? Well, did you know if you go to legitmtg.com, you can order any magic cards, and anything over $2 or more has free shipping?
Wow, free shipping's at legitmtg.com. That's amazing.
You heard that right, Zoe. Free shipping at legitmtg.com with any order over $2 or more. Be sure to visit today and get the best deal on Magic singles and Magic sealed product available.
Wow, that's amazing!
And that is how you beat the latest standard meta with ads in.
Ugh, it feels like there's no Magic content out there for someone like me. Someone who doesn't want to be competitive. Someone who is...
Who is a normie?
Yeah, exactly! A normie!
Well, have I got the show for you, the all-new Magic for Normies show.
Hi, I'm Pixie.
And I'm Zuby.
Together, we host the all-new
Magic for Normies.
It is the Magic the Gathering show for all your normie needs. We don't care what deck got into the top 8 or what deck is winning. We care about having fun playing Magic.
That's right, Pixie. You can watch us on Pixie's Twitch channel at twitch.tv/PixieKittenPlays and catch the VOD on our YouTube channel, Pixie Kitten Plays. If audio is your thing, you can find episodes on the Magic with Zuby RSS feed. Magic for Normies. So what I'm doing to basically try to rebrand this show a little bit here, because before I was trying to really make this show, I wouldn't say really serious. I was just doing a lot more prep for this show than I would do Magic with Zuby. For instance, where Magic with Zuby, I do a lot of interviews, and then I'll also do some solo episodes where I may do a deck tech or talk about some random news topic, right? And those are really easy for me to come by because I play the game like every day. Right, I play Magic all the time, and I'm so invested in the community. But that's not to say that I'm not invested in D&D as well. I play D&D at least 2 to 3 times a week, and I DM 2 games right now, and I'm a player in about 1.5 games right now. More info on that, yeah, maybe we won't discuss that so much. But anyways, so I'm sort of redoing this where I'm going to make this a little bit more casual, talk about topics of D&D and RPGs in general, maybe even do some DM tips, stuff like that. I'm sort of making this just as casual as it can be, and also talking about new products coming out, maybe talking about, I don't know, some sessions I had, just whatever random stuff floats my boat, and whatever comes my way here. I'm going to be definitely focusing more on D&D more than anything, but that's not to say I will not talk about other RPGs. Like, I've been reading a lot of Pathfinder 2nd Edition, and I want to play it so bad. Like, I have read a lot of the rules, I've made characters, and all that. I understand a lot of the gameplay, but I have not DM'd it, and I have not played it and I want to play it so bad. The other reason why I'm sort of doing this a little bit more casual is I'm lacking a lot of the time I need to create what I want. So, and what I mean by that is I have a full-time job, right? I have a full-time job career, I have family, 2 kids, a wife, take up a lot of my time, and then plus taking care of a household on top of also doing this podcast as well, on top of streaming. And by the time that I even start thinking about RPG Companion and that I want to really dive in and make the content I want, I'm like, I just have no time. Or the time that I do have, I'm like, I'm so exhausted from everything, I don't even want to think about this right now. So this is why I'm doing the change here. I'm sort of just taking a step back, realizing, okay, well, if I can't do what I want to do, let me do this instead, which is what this is going to be from now on. I may have some interviews again. I've had a few people on that I've interviewed before. I'm hoping to maybe get some more, but I'm not going to rush it or pressure myself for this. I'm going to take it as normal and take it as needed, that when I want to do it. mtgzuby always will usually take priority because that is my bread and butter. That's my baby. That's the podcast I've been doing for over 4 years now, and I love doing it. And this is just going to be more of, I'm going to just be more casual about it, I guess. So I guess let's go ahead and get into the first topic of discussing what's going to be in Tasha's Cauldron of everything. And then I do want to have a little bit of a discussion of the new ability score increase drama that's going on, because even my players are kind of not liking the idea, but we're going to go over what it does and some of my thoughts and feelings on it as well. And then we're going to end the show. I'm going to try to do this with a lot of my solo episodes where I sort of give a dungeon master tip of the day or of the episode or of the week, something like that. And, just sort of going on about, hey, do this, don't be afraid of doing this, etc., etc. So let's first get into talking about what's going to be in Tasha's Cauldron of everything, and then we'll go on from there. All right, so Tasha's Cauldron of Everything was announced a little bit ago, and it is going to be the newest source book for Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition, where it's going to be very similar to Xanathar's Guide to Everything, where there's going to be a lot of subclass options. They're going to be reprinting the Artificer. They're going to be reprinting some of the subclasses we've seen in Ravnica or Theros. There's going to be definitely a lot of new subclasses. There's going to be some new character options. I've seen stuff, even new spells, magic items, magic tattoos, expanded rule options. It said they're gonna expand on the sidekicks, which we saw in the new D&D Essentials kit, the Dragon Spire, Ice Spire, whatever it was called. Look through that; it looked pretty neat. And there's going to be some supernatural environments, natural hazards, and parlaying with monsters, and gain guidance on running a session 0, which I feel is very important. Because session 0 is not only the type of session you need to create characters and come up with characters, it's also a good session to have where you sit down with everyone and talk about, hey, this is what the game's going to be about, what does everyone want out of the game, and then you really go from there. It's cool that they also say there's going to be a plethora of puzzles as well, too. I'll be interested to seeing that after I got Wally DM's puzzle book. I've been sort of using that for my latest dungeon I'm working on in my Friday game, and I kind of like some of the ideas, so be sure to check out Wally DM and his puzzle book there. I think it's on Drive-Thru RPG or DM's Guild, one of them. I can't remember which one I bought it from. So I'm going to be looking over the thread from D&D Leaks to sort of go over what's going to be in the book, Tasha's Cauldron of Everything. So they say there's supposed to be 4 chapters, character options, spell and magic items, group patrons, and tools for dungeon masters, which I'll be interested to see what they've got for that. There's going to be 192 pages, at least 1 new subclass for each of the 13 classes, which that's cool. 22 new subclasses, 5 reprinted subclasses. So I talked about that before, where the Ravnica and Theros ones are being reprinted, but the Blade Singing Wizard is going to be reprinted as well. I'm curious as to what exactly about the Blade Singing Wizard is going to be reprinted. Is it going to be reprinted in a way to where it's not going to require only elves be Blade Song Wizards? And what about the other Sword Coast Adventure Guide classes, like the Battle Rager and was it the Purple Knight? I think it is. It's not like they're very good anyway. Anyway, so, and let me see what else they say. Oh yeah, the Artificer is going to be reprinted, which I'm glad about that, because as much as I, like that Eberron book and all that stuff, I wouldn't mind it being in one book as well. You know what? Let me just put this out here. You know what they need to do when this gets reprinted or something? They need to make like an ultra mega player's handbook or something that has just everything that's been reprinted for the past 5-6 years, right? And everything from the base player's handbook, from Xanathar's and Tasha's, and just go from there. I mean, I know they, Wizards wants to make their money and they sell the separate books and all that stuff, but heck, it would just be a lot easier with just one book. But what can you do? So, what else have they said? Now, I don't want to go over like all the supposedly new subclasses, because a lot of them are either UA or there's not there's not a lot of confirmation on it. So they're saying there's going to be allegedly a psionic wizard. Whether that'll be interesting. Some new spellbook options. I'll be interested in seeing that. Because I've only played one wizard once, but only like level 2 or 3, and it was not that exciting. Maybe because the campaign we were in wasn't very exciting. But I digress there. And then they're also talking about the new lineage system that allows new customization of characters, which we'll get into in a little bit here. The one thing I do like that they're mentioning is there's gonna be removal of negative racial modifiers from kobolds and orcs from Volo's guide, which I am all down for that. I am 100% down for that, because I would like to play a kobold. Like my goal, one of my goal characters is to play a kobold bard, and he's from a tribe of kobolds that doesn't like music or anything, and he's been one of those like, I want to be a musician because I once saw a wandering bard, and just go from there. I'll play him one day. And let's see, races from the player's handbook are considered the archetypical version. The new origins. Oh, okay. They're talking about the new ability score stuff here. So, I mean, without getting too deep into some of the spells they're talking about and the magic items, like I said, a lot of this I feel like isn't confirmed. I don't want to dive too deep into a lot of this, but the one thing they did show were magic tattoos, and there's actually 2 of them that they seem pretty okay. I feel like, hold on, so let me just read them. So the first one is the Masquerade Tattoo. It's produced by a special needle. This magic tattoo appears on your body as whatever you desire. So to attune to this item, you hold the needle to your skin where you want the tattoo to appear, pressing the needle there throughout the attunement process. When the attunement is complete, the needle turns into ink that becomes the tattoo, which appears on the skin. If your attunement to the tattoo ends, the tattoo vanishes and the needle reappears in the closest unoccupied space to you. Okay, interesting. So, how long does attunement take for it then? You hold the needle where you want and you're pressing the needle there throughout the attunement process. Because I remember, I thought like magic items, attunement takes a little while, or wow, how long are you going to have to attune with a tattoo? So the Masquerade Tattoo, Fluid Ink, as a bonus action, you can shape the tattoo into any color or pattern and move it to any area of your skin. Whatever form it takes, it is always obviously a tattoo. It can range in size from no smaller than a copper piece to an intricate work of art that covers all of your skin. And you can use this to do Disguise Self. As an action, you can use the tattoo to cast Disguise Self with a DC of 13 to discern this disguise. Once the spell is cast, it can't be cast from the tattoo again until the next dawn. So that's not too bad if you're playing sort of a stealthy character or something like that. As a rogue, I like pretty much as a rogue, I'd want something like this, even if I'm not being like an arcane trickster or anything like that. This would just be super handy to have if I'm trying to sneak around town or, be stealthy. Not even just around town, just try to be stealthy anywhere. And the other one they mention is Coiling Grasp Tattoo. It has Grasping Tendrils. While the tattoo is on your skin, you can, as an action, cause the tattoo to extrude into inky tendrils, which reach for a character you can see within 15 feet of you. The creature must succeed on a DC 14 strength save, or take 3d6 force damage and be grappled by you. As an action, the creature can escape the grapple by succeeding on a DC 14 strength athletics or dexterity acrobatics check. The grapple also ends if you halt it. No action required. If the creature is ever more than 15 feet away from you, or if you use this tattoo on a different creature. So when you use it as an action and be grappled by you, as an action, the creature can escape the grapple by succeeding. Ooh. So I'm playing a two-handed, a dual-wielding Echo Knight fighter right now in my Sunday campaign. And I would want to get this tattoo with him where, all right, I grasping tendrils with, my tattoo with my real self, then bonus action summon my Echo, and then just have my Echo beat down on it as it's grappled by my tattoo. Oh, that's so awesome. I like that way better than the Masquerade one. The Masquerade one's definitely more for like roleplay type stuff and being able to sneak around, which is cool. This one is just, hey, I as a fighter or monk or any kind of martial class that's not magical at all can, hey, we get grasping tendrils now, and boom, there you go. So some of my thoughts on the magic tattoos, I guess just magic tattoo as a like mechanic here can be interesting. Like those two do seem interesting as a player, because they sort of give you some spells or abilities that maybe you normally wouldn't get, or that you can only get from a magic item. Maybe there is no magic items for you out there, and maybe your DM wants to do something fun and do tattoos instead, right? They have a tattoo shop in their city, and, hey, for 5,000 gold, you can get, whatever tattoo you want. Something like that, or however much the price would be for certain tattoos, which I think could be cool. And so far, those two don't seem that strong, off the top, and I'd be curious to see what else they come up with. And it also sort of starts coming up with ideas for homebrewing stuff as well, too, where, hey, if there's a Coiling Grasp tattoo, why can't there be a Magic Missile tattoo, or a Grease tattoo, or like, hey, you put a tattoo on your eyes and you tap your eyes and the grease spell comes out of it. That'd be kind of weird, but hey, visually appealing for some people, I guess. I'm interested to see what more they do with this. But does this just sort of make it so? I guess that still accounts for your attunement slots, right? Because you can only attune 3 items, and so does that? I guess magic tattoos would also count for your magic items as well, too. So that doesn't seem... It seems good. It's just didn't seem as overpowered as I thought it would be, because I'm thinking, okay, yeah, you have 3 magic items and then boom, a tattoo as well, too. So it doesn't seem that strong. If it's still following the same attunement rules as far as like other magic items go, it doesn't seem too bad. And it's a little bit more flavorful as well, too. Let's see what else they have. They talk about the book contains rules for supernatural environments and natural hazards, which I will like that, especially for natural hazards, because I do like throwing certain things in my game, like weather events. Like there was a time in my Friday game where my players were going through mountains, like they were going through some treacherous mountains during the winter time. And I had basically a rule go where they had to get warm clothes, and then every day they woke up, they had to do a constitution check to see if they'd be able to, I wouldn't say survive the cold, just be able to withstand the cold. And if they failed that constitution check, they would have disadvantage for the rest of the day because they just couldn't get over the cold. But as soon as they got acclimated to the weather for about 2 weeks, the DC for the cold check was getting lower and lower as each day did go by. So a lot of the first few days, the DC was a bit higher because no one had ever come from cold environments before. They'd all lived in like tropical or temperate environments where it didn't really snow, or if it did snow, it was like very light, nothing like blizzard conditions. So I'll be interested to see that. And then I've also had in other games where I've like thrown tornadoes at them, like natural tornadoes and natural hurricanes and stuff. And I'll be interested to see what kind of rules they have for that. I hope they have something like that, because I would like that, because with like my tornadoes and hurricanes, I just sort of, I don't know, just say, hey, yeah, you guys find shelter, and then a whole bunch of, trees and houses get blown away type stuff, just not really, I'm not very creative like that off the top of my head. Parlaying with monsters, not a heavy rule system, just some tables DMs can roll on to decide what a monster might want instead of conflict. That could be good just for some random ideas, right? They talk about session 0, new puzzles, and I'm always down for puzzles. I like puzzles, and I know the few puzzles I've made for my players, they figured out in like 5 seconds. I'm like, damn, because I don't want to make it too hard, but I make it hard enough to where I think it'll take them a little bit, and then they're like, yeah, we figured it out in less than like 2 minutes. Like, oh, damn it. All right. And then, yeah, I'll be interested to see what supernatural environments they have. Like, I keep talking about my Friday game. That's been the game I've been DMing for over a year and a half now. And gosh, it's what, October, November, December. In 4 months, it's going to be 2 years. Holy shit. Wow, that's crazy. And, I'm going to be sending them to hell pretty soon in the next few months. So I want to see if they have anything like that for supernatural environments, just to sort of give me ideas. I've been sort of looking at the Avernus book, the Baldur's Gate Avernus, Descent into Avernus, for some ideas for hell, because I sort of do a homebrew world and all that, but I get a lot of ideas from Forgotten Realms and Dragonlance and The Witcher and Lord of the Rings, everything. Let's see, group patrons. Oh, okay. These are, so they're talking about ones for like, the ones that like from Eberron. Okay. So I wonder if it's going to be something different. If it can give each other advantage on checks a number of times. Okay. I thought it was going to be something new. I didn't know it was going to be related to Eberron there. Okay. Sidekicks, which will be cool to see again. And, that could be, I should probably do that with my daughter, because we need to finish up Lost Mines of Phandelver, because we started that during the pandemic, but we never finished. We only did like 2 or 3 sessions, I think, and we never finished it up. It's just, life's been crazy during this whole pandemic thing. So overall, I think the book is going to be fun. It's going to be, it feels like to me it's going to be very similar to Xanathar's, where you're going to want this book. As a player and a DM, you're going to want this book, because there's going to be a lot more fun stuff being added to it. Especially, if you're one of those who likes to play some of the Ravnica or Theros subclasses, but you get tired of having to lug along both of those books or something. Hey, now you have it all in one book now, which is, hey, that's a great improvement there. And it'll be interesting to see some of these new spells and some of these new magic items too. I'm kind of interested, now that I've read off those tattoos, I'm kind of more interested in seeing what the tattoos are going to be like. I kind of like that idea of the tattoo there. And heck, I want to see some more of the subclasses too. Let's hope there's some more fun stuff out there. My fighter, I'm playing a fighter for the first time, and I chose Echo Knight. That has been one of the most fun subclasses I've ever played in D&D. I love that subclass. It's so much fun. So yeah, that's basically Tasha's Cauldron of Everything. As soon as we know, well, I guess I should say, as soon as the book is out, I do kind of want to do a book review of it and sort of go over it from there and just sort of see, what are some of the changes? Like, were there any changes to Blade Singer Wizard, or was there any changes to the Circle of Spores or the Order Domain or anything like that for those subclasses? And just also talk about a lot of the new stuff too and see what could be exciting. So the other thing I want to dive into is the new sort of customizing your race, your origin in D&D. So we're going to get right into that right now. All right, so a little bit of a hot topic here is the sort of customization of races that WotC is bringing to D&D 5th edition. And let me just preface this by first starting off with, I know, I get it, I understand that this is not something required at your table. If you as a DM do not want to introduce this to the game, that is fine. I think what sort of gets me about a lot of these changes is the repercussions this may have down the road with maybe D&D 6th edition or whatever have you. So basically the gist of it is this, where, and we're going to use Mountain Dwarf as the example because that's what everybody's using. So essentially when you choose your race and subrace right now in D&D, you have ability score increases. So with a Mountain Dwarf, you get +2 to Constitution and +2 to Strength for the Dwarf, I think, or the Mountain Dwarf. Let me double check here. So for the Dwarf, you get a +2 to Constitution, and if you choose Mountain Dwarf, you get a +2 to Strength. So with the new rules, they're talking about where instead of putting your ability score increases in those two stats, you can sort of put those +2 ability score increases into anything. So let's say you want your Mountain Dwarf to instead get +2 to Dex and +2 to Charisma, because why not? And while on the surface that seems, fine, right? I think that sort of has some other repercussions here that maybe some people aren't thinking of. Talking about other races, it's sort of the same thing. So if your race gets a +2 to Strength and a +1 to Con, you can put that +2 and +1 to anything else. And the same goes for languages as well. If you're a dwarf and your race typically knows Common and Dwarvish, you can instead, choose it to be, okay, they know Common and Gnomish or Common and Celestial for whatever reason. The other thing is whatever proficiencies or skills that your race may know from the beginning, taking dwarves again. So they have proficiency with battle axe, hand axe, light hammer, warhammer. They can instead choose to be proficient with tools instead, or a different simple weapon, or a different martial weapon, depending on what it is. So like a battle axe is a martial weapon, so they can choose to be skilled with a longsword instead, or blacksmith's tools, or anything like that, right? And for tool proficiency, same thing. They can choose different tools they want to be proficient with, and different skills they can be proficient with. So let's say, your dwarf, you start off with being able to be proficient in history checks, right? Okay, now instead of that, you can be proficient in perception checks, okay? Just sort of changing it from there. But like I said, I think some of the stuff that I feel is a little bit detrimental to the game is at that point, the races just become skins. At that point, there's really, and I hate using the term min-maxing or power gaming, but that's sort of what a lot of this leads to. And I understand a lot of people already do this, that, hey, when they're going to be picking a class, they want to make it as best as you can. And that's fine. I mean, a lot of people do that. Heck, I want to try to do that, where I try to make, have the best stats and, best class and make it, fit in together. But I also like being limited by the restrictions of it too, where I'm limited to where, okay, let's say if I want to make a monk, right? We all know elves make really good monks, but maybe I want to do something a little bit different that's not very commonly seen. Maybe I want to make a gnome monk because they're small and can, be hard to get to. But, gnomes aren't the best. With these new rules, I can now instead make, my +2/+1 to Dex and, Wisdom for that, which sounds good on the surface, but it's kind of like, you're already making it better already. You're not being really restricted. You're being, sort of, oh God, what's the word I'm looking for? It's sort of like as I said, pretty much your race is just a skin at that point. There's really no downsides to picking any race at that point. So and that can sometimes be the fun of it too, like purposely picking a race that isn't optimized for that class. Like I actually enjoy, like, the wizards I have made that I have actually played have all been dwarves, and dwarves are not very good wizards, but I enjoy making them because I like dwarves, and I sort of like not optimizing, I guess, in a sense. Now, with these rules, it would allow me to optimize, but the other thing that I think about too, so let's look at barbarians, right? If I remember correctly, or is it fighters? Fighters get proficiency in all armor and shields. They get proficiency in all weapons, simple and martial weapons, but they get no proficiency in tools. So with these new rules, I could essentially make whatever race, and instead of getting any proficiency and if I know I'm going to be a fighter, instead of getting any proficiency in weapons with my race, I'm just going to make them all tools at that point, which kind of makes it feel, I don't know. It just doesn't feel right, And I get where WotC is coming from, because they're trying to say, well, we want you to make truly unique characters and all that stuff. Your character maybe didn't grow up in a mountain with other dwarves. They may have grown up with halflings, right? And I get it. I totally understand that. I get where they're coming from. And like I said, I get that not every table will do this, and you don't have to do this. It just, to me, sort of sets a precedent to where is this how D&D 6th edition is going to be, where it's just right out the bat, where choose whatever ability score increases you want. And it's sort of getting rid of the history of that certain races are better at certain things. And I understand that sets like a whole nother precedent that could be talked about outside of this podcast, in real life complications, especially dealing with race. But in just really trying to stick with D&D terms here, it's almost like, what's the point of picking? It's almost like, what's the point of picking a race when I can just essentially pick, anything? And, well, I guess I mean more of picking what's the best. Like Mountain Dwarf right away is going to be automatically better than a lot of stuff. Any other race that starts off with +2/+2 is going to be seen as more desirable than anything else. Like, what other races have +2/+2? I'm trying to look here. I thought, like, didn't lizard folk have something like that, or was it Goliaths? No, not Goliaths. Was it lizard folk? No, I thought there was another race that also gets a +2/+2. I can't remember. I'm trying to look here. There probably is. I just don't know. But I mean, look at humans. Humans are basically, shafted. They don't really get anything. I mean, out of these rules here, I mean, nothing changes for humans. I mean, variant human, yeah, you can do any 2 unique +1s. I mean, so, I mean, if we're to be honest here, the problem I see with this is just the homogenization of creating races here and creating classes. It feels like you're giving people less choice in a sense. Oh God, I hate that. I hate saying that, because it's not really less choice. It's because, as I was saying, a lot of creativity comes from restrictions that are based on the system that you're in. And this sort of just opens up the system, right? To where, oh, hey, you don't have to purposely make a bad character now. Your character could be great at everything, right off the bat. And it just sort of doesn't make it feel special. Like, if everyone's special, no one is special, right? And it kind of makes it a little bit bland and boring. Like, I keep going back to Pathfinder 2nd Edition. That's what I really like, how Pathfinder does their races as well, where, you know, you have they call it ancestries there. So you have your ancestries and your bloodlines, and each ancestry and each bloodline within the ancestry is vastly different and gets vastly different things compared to what races are. And it just feels like it's becoming more of a homogenization. It's almost similar to when I think about World of Warcraft, right? Where you think about when you chose a race back in World of Warcraft, how you were very restricted on not only what classes you could be, and also, but the talents or the certain skills that certain races would get are better than others. And now it's gotten to a point in World of Warcraft where races don't really matter that much. They're just more of skins. And this is kind of what it feels like it's turning into, where it's just, oh, it's a skin. Cool. It's not really, doesn't feel like a meaningful choice. I guess that's the best way to describe it. It's not, they're taking away a meaningful choice by homogenizing it. And, you know, if people like that, cool. Good for them. And if that's what the game is turning into, okay, cool. Like I said, you don't have to play with these rules. And I know I probably personally won't play with these rules on my table. And, you know, to me, it just sort of, it takes away a little bit of the fun from it, in my opinion, where, you know, it can be fun to limit yourself and make something that's not optimized, because you can get some really good role play out of that and some really fun games out of that as well too. So we're going to end off this episode with a DM tip, a Dungeon Master tip. And my tip for this episode is, as a DM, it's not important to know every single rules interaction in the game. Knowing the basics, yes, is vital. But for every little action and spell, it's okay to ask, what does that do, or to look it up yourself. There have been so many times where, you know, I've DM'd 5th edition since 2017, but I've been DMing for a long time. I've DM'd other systems, DM'd other D&D editions, but there's still, even 3 years into DMing 5th edition, I still don't know everything. There's still so many little things that I don't know, or that I can't remember, like every single spell, right? Like, okay, so, you know, fireball, okay, what does that do again? How big is the radius, or how far away can he cast that? I don't remember every single little detail of it. And, you know, it's okay if you don't. You know, the most important thing as a DM is to know the basics of the game. Like, know how turn orders go, know, like, what each kind of ability checks do. Like, really, for what I find super important as a DM is opening up the player's handbook every once in a while and read it again. Read about certain rules interactions. Like, did you know a long rest you're not sleeping for 8 hours straight? You only have to, for a long rest, you only have to sleep for 6 hours, and then you can do 2 hours of light activity. That's including, like, being on watch, reading, you know, reading your spell book, and, you know, cooking or something like that. Nothing strenuous. So, and, you know, that's a rule I didn't know a couple months ago until, you know, I looked it up, and it's like, oh, so you don't have to sleep for 8 hours. You only really have to sleep for 6 hours, and then do 2 hours of, you know, sitting around doing nothing, essentially. And, you know, and it's okay as a DM. Don't expect yourself to know everything. Expect yourself to know the very basics, and then don't be afraid to tell your players, oh, I don't know, let me look it up, and then try to arbitrate the rules from there, or arbitrate, you know, whatever action they're trying to do, because your players are going to surprise the hell out of you as to, you're going to be like, what do you want to do again? You want to do what? And you're just going to give them this look, and you're like, okay, I got to look up that rule. Like, they're going to do the weirdest shit you can imagine. Like, I had a player one time, they got mad because they went into a room, they were inspecting this room, and they opened up a foot chest at the foot of a bed, and out popped 3 banshees, and they almost died from the encounter because there's 4 of them, and they're all pretty high level. They're like between levels 13 to 15, and the Banshees all wailed one after the other, and all but one survived the wail. Luckily, the one guy just got super good wisdom saving rolls, or constitution save. I think it's wisdom. See, once again, I don't remember everything the monsters do, right? Like, I know what they do, but I can't remember every little save on what it is. And so after they defeated the 3 Banshees, which, for levels 13 to 15, they're not very hard to beat. It's just that mournful wail, it can just drop, any level down, like if they fail that wisdom save. So the after they beat the Banshees, they want to look in the chest, and I'm like, all right, there's 1 gold piece, and they were like so pissed off. So the wizard takes out the gold piece and puts it on the bed, and then asks me, how many firebolts do I have to do in order to melt this gold piece? And I'm all like, once again, like, what do you want to do? You want to do what? And he's like, yeah, I'm just super pissed off that this encounter almost killed our entire high level party. And I'm all like, okay. So I had to go Google what the melting point of gold is. And then I had to think about, well, a fire bolt doesn't actually do too much like burning. You'd have to do probably a lot of fireballs and then contain the fire to make it really hot. And I told him, like, yeah, no, you're not going to be able to do it, just even how many continuous fire bolts you're doing. So, I mean, it's stuff like that, right? Your players are just going to completely take you by surprise, and not knowing, you're going to be like, what are you even talking about? So don't fret about it. Don't be afraid to Google stuff, or even be like, hold on, everybody. Let me look up this rules interaction, because they're going to get you. You think you're prepared to DM? You think you know all the stuff that your players are going to do? Nope. You'll come up with this encounter like, yeah, I've thought of every like XYZ type thing that's going to happen. Nope. Your players are going to be like, nah, we're going to 100% surprise you. All the time, every time. And then sometimes when you think you're going to surprise them, they don't fall for it. And they're like, nope, we're not going to take that bait. We're just going to ignore it. And you're going to be like, what the fuck? Anyway, so that's it. That's my DM tip. Don't fret about not knowing every single rule of D&D, because hell, I don't know every single rule. I mean, I try to do my best. I have a really good grasp and understanding of all the basic rules, but Jesus, you can't remember everything. And there are some days I even forget the basics too. Like there's some things that you just plain forget. You can't remember everything. You're human. You're not perfect. Okay, it's okay to not remember everything. So that's my DM tip, and I think that's the end of the episode. I hope you all enjoyed this sort of more relaxed version of RPG Companion, and I hope to do some more of these. Maybe, I don't know, I'll just try to mull around some more ideas for episodes, and they'll come out, I guess, when I feel like it. Hope you all enjoyed it, and hope you all have a great night. Good night.